Welcome to the Metal Bar and welcome to the legendary Dave Mustaine. Dave, welcome back to New Zealand.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
It's great to have you back, man. You know, obviously things fell over with some Aussie shows. We weren't sure if we were going to get you, but we're so pleased that you decided to come anyway, and it's always great to see Megadeth back in New Zealand.
It's a different promoter, so, you know, like I said, we love our Australian fans, but, you know, things just didn't work out, so...
That's all good. We don't need to talk about that stuff, man. What we need to talk about is you, Megadeth. Last time I talked to you, you were here a few years back with Slayer, playing a different venue. And when I talked to you then, you were talking about Endgame possibly being the last Megadeth record, and then you might, you know, just give it a rest and maybe go and do something different. But obviously things have changed. What was it that for you that changed that you decided to keep carrying on with Megadeth?
It was the surgery on my neck. I was having a lot of problems with my neck and my back and everything like that from all the headbanging. And, you know, we'd done so many x-rays and MRIs and stuff like that, and it wasn't until they finally said, you need surgery, and they opened me up and they found that, you know, I actually had a broken bone in my neck, and a fragment that looked kind of like a thorn from a rose had gone into my spinal column.
Wow.
And, you know, he was cleaning me up and getting ready to close, and they put this blue ink in there to see if there's any debris in there, and he saw this thing sticking out of my spinal cord, and he's like, oh my God, what? He pulls this out, and it was like taking the thorn out of a lion's paw. I totally felt better after that. So, you know, I guess it's like that old saying that the reports of my death are grossly exaggerated, you know, so I'm excited. I feel better. You know, there's still some numbness in my hand from the nerve damage, but that's understandable. They told me when I first had it diagnosed, they said, you get 80% use back, and I said, of playing? He goes, oh, you'll never play again. You'll have 80% use of your hand back, and I was like, you don't know who I am. I'm not going to take that answer. So, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Now, you neck problems and back problems aren't new to, you know, people in metal. I know Phil Anselmo, Jason Newsted have all had issues that they've had to have surgery on. Did you compare notes with anybody to try and get to the bottom of what you were going on with?
Well, I guess if you said I compared notes, it would have been to Peyton Manning, because we went to the same surgeon. And I didn't know about Phil or about Jason. I knew about Tom and I knew about James, but I didn't know about those other guys.
Yeah. Now, I know that in the past you've done other projects outside of Megadeth, you know, MD45, for example, and I noticed that coming up in April you're working with the San Diego Symphony Orchestra. How did that come about, and what are you going to be playing?
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting when you listen to classical music. There's some real happy songs there that don't really move me, but there's some also really dark, evil-sounding stuff, you know, like in the Disney movies when somebody's ready to get, you know, their ass kicked or something. That's the cool music I like. And I had said that, you know, I'd really like to do my interpretation of some classical stuff, and you know, they asked the same question that most people are saying, you know, what do you mean, like symphony doing Megadeth? And you know, we did that when Countdown to Extinction came out.
Yeah.
You know, 22 years ago, we'd had a symphonic arrangement with the quartet that played the entire record at our release party. So, you know, we were, again, first with that stuff. And to do Megadeth symphonically, I think would, you know, it's not as amazing sounding as it would be to have me shredding the lead violin part on stuff that, you know, we're doing Vivaldi, we're doing Summer, we're doing Winter, doing Air in the G String by Bach, which isn't really a fast song, but it's very sad, and it requires a lot of vibrato technique. And, you know, vibrato goes two different ways. There's how deep you do it and how fast you do it. And met Itzhak Perlman at the San Diego Symphony, and I talked to him about that, and you know, he was a big influence for me with this whole thing, because as I was learning the parts and playing along to it, I was playing along to his versions of these things. And that dude he's amazing, you know, to watch the, you know, besides the fact that he's overcome a physical impairment and he's such a genius at that, you know, that's a given, but to watch him play is just mind-boggling, because he knows so many songs, and there's so many notes in there. So it was really challenging for me, and I know that this is going to be great for the next record, because it's really taking me back to my roots. Because when we started, they used to say, what kind of a band are you? I would say, we're a punk band that likes jazz, that's classically infused, and you know, we just call ourselves Megadeth, you know.
Just confuse everybody.
Well, the truth of the matter is, you know, I loved punk rock. I was a little surf punk when I was growing up, and I liked classical music, and I liked jazz. But, you know, for me, it was like a lot of the classic rock. You know, I was brought up on the British invasion, and I learned how to play guitar through the new wave of British heavy metal. So a lot of that was the Brits' interpretation of rock and roll, which was invented by Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's completing the circle.
Quality. Now, I was going to say that Super Collider, the new record, you mentioned Countdown before. This, for me, listening to Super Collider was like going back and listening to Countdown for the first time. Now, is that something you do, go back and listen to your old records and maybe be influenced by stuff you've done in the past, or is it just something that's happened, it's just been a natural process?
It's kind of what goes on in my personal life, and if my mother-in-law wasn't dying from Alzheimer's, I imagine that it probably wouldn't be as sad as it is, because the Blackest Crow and Forget to Remember are about her, and my mom died like that. Just she was here, she was gone. So my mother-in-law's been kind of like my surrogate role mother for the last 23 years, and to watch her die from Alzheimer's, I don't know if you know anybody who's got Alzheimer's, but it's a painful thing to watch. It's like, the easiest way for me to say this is like watching an ice sculpture melt in front of your eyes, like I was saying, if I wasn't going through that, there would probably be a lot of other personal things that I would share in the songs. And I think that's the cool thing about us, me in particular. You don't never have to ask what I'm thinking, because I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I hate these. Well, I don't hate anybody really, but I find it really kind of disingenuous, all these artists that act like they suffer for their art, and stuff like this. And I'm so confused. It's like, oh, you're such a poser. You know what I mean? It's like, be real, tell people who you really are, and then they know what they're getting. Because there's nothing worse than that moment when I was watching The Wizard of Oz and the curtain came back and you saw that little shit behind the curtain. It's like, after you see the movie the second time, the plot's, it's meaningless. But, when you first see that stuff, it's such a disappointment,
Yeah.
So I like to be genuine. I like to tell people the truth. Not everybody likes, how straight up I am, too. Because, I remember when I was first going over to the UK, they were going like, he talks a lot about his personal life too much. Because nobody was doing that, 30 years ago back in metal.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned, too, that just then about the classical stuff being quite dark and quite angry and quite, I guess you'd almost like say scary at times. How did you find the way you write, or the way your influence to write has changed over the years? Because obviously you've had your demons in the past. It's all well documented, but now you seem to be a lot more at peace, not only with yourself but with the world. And some artists say they can't write unless they are feeling these things of anger or whatever it happens to be. What do you tap into now to write?
All I do is turn on the news. That pisses me off so bad, watching what's happening to our world, and just how people are just being so just misled, and a lot of the anonymity and the cowardice on the internet. People, the stuff that they say about people, they would never say that to your face.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got any of those little turds that, say bad stuff about you. Everybody does. You can't be a living, breathing human being and have a Facebook page or a Twitter account with somebody saying, you suck, you know? It's like, you know what, dude? Somebody needs to invent like a send button with like a little exploding email that you hit the email and it just blows a pile of turds up in your face, and then you're just walking around going, oh, you sent somebody a shitty text, didn't you? Yeah, how'd you tell?
Quality. And you've talked about writing new stuff, new material. When can we expect a new Megadeth record?
I don't know. There's a bunch of rumors going around that we said we were going back in the studio at the end of this year, and what I said was we have moved out of Vic's garage because I moved my home, and there was a facility on my new property that I'm turning into a studio, and we're going in there to write. But we do that during the downtime because, it's like Sting had said something I thought was pretty clever. I'm not a huge Sting fan, but, I respect him and I respect his talent. And he had said, have to live life in between records to have something relevant to say. Because if not, man, you're just singing the same song over and over and over. And there's so many songs about blowjobs and chicks and fast cars. It's like, you know what, let's find something really, really great to write about so that your fans are raised up so that they can not only get to those dark periods in their life, but they can draw strength from someone like me. Because, like you said, I had my demons. It's more like the demons had me.
Yeah.
And, I've always said, don't take shit from anybody. Just, stick up for what you believe in. And at the end of the day, it's like Tony Montana said, all you have is your balls and your word, and that's the truth.
Excellent. Hey, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're always great to talk to, and I look forward to seeing you again. I think this is going to be my 5th, 6th time of seeing Megadeth live, and can't wait to see you guys again tonight.
Thanks.
Cheers, man.
You got it.